Okay, students, we're going to do the unit for exam review. This will be video number 1 of 2. Okay, we're going to start with the budgeting problem. Here I see that they're talking about two things. In this case, they're doing pre-owned videos and CDs. And they tell you how much each of it costs and how much this person can spend. Write that represents a situation. And here we're just writing one inequality. This is not a system. So I know that X represents, okay, the amount or quantity of videos. So quantity of videos or number of videos. And the Y, I'm going to make it be the quantity or number of CDs. Okay, so they tell me the cost. Obviously, I'm do something with money, and they tell me that they can spend no more than 35. No more means that or less, so it's a minimum, right? Or sorry, no more than 35. It's a maximum. That or less. Okay, a maximum. So now I'm going to put all of this together. If X is the amount or the quantity of the videos, and I multiply that times $9, I will get the whole amount of money that I'm going to spend on just videos. So if I do 9 times X, that will be the whole amount I'm going to spend on only videos. If I add to that the $7 times the amount or quantity of CDs, that's how much I'm going to spend just on CDs. So $7 times the Y will be the CDs. When I add up all of this together, I have to spend no more than $35. In other words, that or less. $35 will be included when you say no more than. So this would be my inequality that they're looking for. I identified my two variables and I wrote my inequality. Now it says, does Sachi have enough money to buy 2 videos and 3 CDs? So in other words, would the XY coordinate of 2, because the videos are the X, and 3, the Y is 3, the CDs are the Y. Would this coordinate point work for that? We don't have the equation or the inequality graphed, but we have the actual inequality. So here I can substitute these points over here and check it out and see if it gives me a true statement. If it does, it is part of the solution. If it doesn't, it is not part of the solution. So I will substitute in the 2 and then substitute in the 3 for the Y. And then check out to see what it gives me, true statement or false statement. So this would be 18, 21, okay? And then when I add 18 and 21 together, okay, I will get 39. Is 39 less than or equal to 35? Well, no, this is a false statement. 39 will be greater than or equal to 35, but not less than. So does he have enough money for that? No, he does not. Okay? He would have to spend $39 in order to get this much. 2 videos and 3 CDs, and he only has 35. So no, he does not have enough money. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and go to the next problem. So here we're talking about a garden that's 4 meters and has a length and a width, and you're talking about perimeter. So we're talking about length, width, perimeter, etc. So find the dimensions of the garden. So dimensions, I know they're talking about length and width. Okay, so I'm going to do X will be length, the measurement of the length, and in this case it is in meters. And the Y, I'll make it the meters of the width. Okay, here I have to translate. Okay, so I already know what X and Y are. Then I go back to this and it says the length of Sally's garden And I know that the length of Sally's garden in meters would be X. Okay, so the length of the garden is X. Is means equals. 4 meters greater than. So 4 meters, just 4. Greater than, that means plus. Here you're adding 4 meters greater than 3 times the width. So we already know that the width would be Y. So 3 times the width would be 3Y. Then they tell me the perimeter of the garden is 72 meters. So here they're asking you for prior knowledge. We should know that the garden is, and they don't mention it, which they should. I apologize for that. It's a rectangular garden here. If the perimeter, that means that you're going to have to do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, right? Because you have 2 widths and 2 lengths of a perimeter when you add it all together. So I'm going to write that. So I know that the perimeter, I have this. And then I know that the perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And that is 72 meters. So there are my 2 equations. Now that I have my 2 equations, I have to decide what method I want to do to solve. Okay, it can be substitution or it can be elimination, whichever one you want. Here, because my favorite is elimination, I'm going to do elimination. Okay, although I already have what x equals to, so I can just substitute in the x. So I'm going to change my mind. Okay, I'm going to do substitution. You can do either. It's going to give you the same answer. I already know that x equals that. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the x in green. Okay, if I know that x is 4 plus 3y, I can take the other equation, this one over here. Okay, and instead of x, I can substitute in the value of it. I already know that x will be 4 plus 3y. Now I have everything in terms of y, and I will solve now. First, I have to distribute. You can do it on the side on the box. Or you can do it here really quick, okay? The left side is still not fully simplified. These two are like terms. Notice that I circle also the sign so I know what if I'm going to add them or subtract them. So I'm going to simplify that further. And now I have to subtract 8 because I want y equals at the end. So I have to take the 8 out. And finally, I have to divide by 8 because I don't want 8y, I want y by itself. So I got to undo the multiplication between the 8 and the y, and the inverse of multiplication is division. Okay, so now I know that y equals 8. Once I know what y equals, and in this case this is the width, 8 meters of width, okay? Once I know that, I can go back to this original equation where I had x equals. So I will rewrite that. And now I know that, let me get more light here. And now I know that the width, or y, is 8. So now I'm going to substitute it in here. So then I'll have x equals 4 plus 3 times 8. Because I just found out the value of y. So now I have that the length, meters of length, is 28. My final step will be to check my answer, and I can check it with either of the equations. So I can do this one right here, the shorter one, x equals 4 plus 3y. I'll substitute in the values that I got for my answer just to double check that I did it correctly. Sorry, this is an equal sign. And yes, it works. So this is my check. I can go further and check it more if I want to. Like, I want to really, really make sure. So I can take the other equation and also make sure that I have the answer. So for x and y, I'll substitute in the answers that I got. I got 28 for x, and I got 8 for y. And make sure that I get 72. And I do. Okay, so now I have double checked my answer, and I use substitution here, right, to figure out what the length and the width would be. So I go back to my problem after I showed all the work, and length would be equal to 28 meters, and width would be equal to 8 meters, and that would be my answer. I'm going to go to the next one. If you find any error, please let me know tomorrow. I am tired and I might make a mistake, although I'm not aware that I have, but if you find it, please let me know. Over here we have the next word problem. They tell us how much hours, and here when you see at most, you should already know, like, oh, okay, this is an inequality, right? You need to earn at least $92. Okay, and then they tell you what 2 jobs you have, right? You're walking the dog. Dog walking takes $7.50 per hour. That's how much it pays. And car wash attendant pays $6 per hour. And then you're going to write the linear inequalities, a system of linear inequalities. So you're talking hours, you're talking dollars. So now you need to figure out what x and y represent. In this case, we're talking hours in both, but specifically how many hours you work as your dog walking job and how many hours you work in your car washing job. Okay, so that would be your variables. Now we're going to start with the one that's like pops out the most, which is the dollar amount, right? You have $92 and then how much you get paid for each. Okay? So you must get paid, or you have to earn at least $92. So at least is a minimum. Remember I told you, if I say you need to earn at least a 70 to pass. So that means a 70 or greater, right, in order for you to pass the class. So every time you see at least, it's a minimum. So that means it's going to be that or greater. Okay, so my first inequality should be that. And this is in dollars. So that means what I'm going to write here is in dollars. So for my dog walking job, which is X, the hours spent dog walking pays $7.50 per hour. So if I multiply that, the $7.50, times the hours walking the dogs, I will get the total of how much I get paid for that. I'll do the same thing for the hours car washing, so $6 for that. If I add those two together, those two earnings, they have to be greater than or equal to 92. So this is my first inequality. My second inequality has to do obviously with the hours. It says that I have to work at most 20. So at most means that or less. This is a maximum. I cannot work over the 20 hours. So it has to be less than or equal to the 20. So less than or equal to 20. This is in hours. So whatever I write here has to be in hours. So this is already in hours. X is the hours dog walking. Y is the hours car washing. So all I have to do is add them together. And here are my two inequalities. Here you just have to write the inequalities. That's it. You didn't have to solve or do anything. All right. For the next one, you have to match these to that one. And in this one, you don't have a calculator, so you have to do it by hand. Okay? The first thing I'm going to do is I want to know what the boundary line. So the boundary lines for each. Okay? In order for me to know that, I want to have it in y equals or in slope-intercept form. And none of them are. So I'll take the first one. Okay, I want to have y by itself. All I have to do is move the 1. It can be on this side. That's okay. If you want to move the y and then move the x, you get the same answer. You'll see in a second. So I'll move them -1, -1. So I'll have y and then 2x minus 1. Here it looks weird because you're used to having the y on the left. Well, you can just reverse it. Write the y first. But be careful with your inequality sign. The y has the 1 cookie and the 2x minus 1 has the 2 cookies. So when you rewrite it, make sure that the y has the 1 cookie and the other stuff has the two cookies. Okay, so this is the same as that. So I'm looking for this boundary line where the y-intercept is -1 and my slope is go up 2 to the right 1, 2 over 1. Okay, so m, my slope, is 2, 1, rise over 1. So I'm going to check those lines. So all of them have both equations or both boundary lines at -1, -1, -1, -1. So far I'm good. This one has a slope of up 2 and run 1. So we'll check it later when I have the other one. This is the first one. Now I'm going to do the second one. -x plus 2y is greater than or equal to -2. Okay, so here I have to move the x over. And remember, this is a 1 if we can't see it. And then I would have to have the y by itself, divide by 2 to undo that multiplication. This is a positive, so I don't have to worry about switching signs or anything. I leave them as is. Okay? And then I would divide by 2 on each. So I'll get 1/2 x minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. So in this one, this is your slope, rise over run. And this would be your y-intercept, -1. We already said that all the graphs have -1 as the y-intercept, so now we got to check the slopes to see if they're graphed correctly. So on this one, I have a slope of 2. So from -1, I would go up 2 and to the right 1. So let's start with A. Up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1. So this one looks good. This one over here, I would shade below. And I would have a solid line. Okay, shade below and solid line. So in this one, I can't clearly see what's going on, but I believe that this is the shaded part, and it looks like it's shaded above or to the left. Okay, I can't really tell on this one. On letter B, okay, I go up 2 to the right 1. Yes, up 2 to the right 1, yes. Okay, this one up 2 to the right 1, yes, up 2 to the right 1, yes. So all the graphs have this graphed correctly. I cannot tell the shading part, and I apologize for that. I didn't realize the copies were bad. I'm going to test my other boundary line, and then we'll see if we can find the shading portion, the shaded portion. Okay, so over here I have the slope is rise up 1 and to the right 2. So now I'm testing this one. Up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. This one's good. Up 1 to the right 2, up 1. Yes, good. Okay, so both of them, all of the 4 of them have the equations correctly. Now we're trying to see where the shading part is, and I apologize again because you can't really tell here. So I'm going to try to see if I can figure it out without. So here I know that on this pink line I'm going to shade below, and on this one I'm going to shade above. Okay, so I would shade below on the pink one and shade above on the purple or blue one, which is this. I hope you can tell in your copy, but on letter A it looks like they had this as the solution region, and it should be this middle part. So A is not the answer. If you look, you can kind of see that this one has this as the solution answer, and this one has this as the solution region. And this one has this. I just did it here, and I know that this is the solution region right there, and B is the only one that has that as that you can kind of tell. In this one, if you couldn't do it, I apologize that you couldn't see the copy, like where they overlap. But I think in some copies you can see that the overlap was in here, and that's what I was looking for. So again, on this pink line, my boundary lines were all correct, and I knew I had to shade below. Okay, so I shaded below, which is the orange portion. And on the blue part or purple part, I know that I had to shade above, so I did that. I shaded above in the yellow. So it needed to look like this, which B does. This is your solution region right there. Okay, so I apologize again for the confusion on that one because you can't see. All right, so this one is kind of what we did in practice. I'm going to skip this one for now, and we'll go over this one in class because it's just what you did today with your 2 practices and part 1 of the test. I'm going to go ahead and go to this question over here where you have a table, and they're asking you to match whether it's A, B, or C that matches this. First, I want you to realize that this is 2 tables. Remember, we had seen this in the past when we practiced. The x's are the same, 3, 4, and 0. And this one has these y's. So I have to know which of these systems match this. The easiest way, I mean, you could do rice over run and figure out each of them. But since it's multiple choice, the easiest way is to take each and test it out. Like test it for 1 point first and then see. The easier points to test would be these. So I can start with that and see if it works. So I'm going to take A, and instead of x, I'm going to plug in 0 or substitute in 0. And instead of y, I'm going to substitute in 3. This one would be f of x, and this is g of x in all of them. F of x, g of x, f of x, g of x. So over here for x, I'm going to leave it blank. For y, I'm going to leave it blank. And then test it out to see if I get a true statement. If I do, then it matches that. If I don't, then it doesn't. So for x is 0, and for y is 3. And I'm going to test it out. This is f of x, and this is g of x. So I'm testing out f of x, this one. 0 plus 6 equals -7. Well, it looks like it's not going to work. So I already know A won't work. I won't even try to figure out this one because this one didn't work already. Letter B. I'm going to do the same process. This is for f of x. Okay, and this would be for g of x. So I'm testing out f of x right now. F of x is this one, so I'm going to plug in the 0 and the 3. I'll substitute it in and see if it works. 0 and 3. Okay, so far f of x has worked. Now let me see if g of x works. So now I'm going to test out g of x here. And in g of x, I also selected the easiest points first, just to try it and see if it works. And yes, it works as well. Okay? You can try it one more time for C just to make sure, just in case there are other points that don't work, just to be super sure. Test the f of x first. And I'll substitute in the 0 and the 3. And that already doesn't work. So no on that one. So B would be the answer. The points worked here for both f of x and g of x. Okay, so that's what's represented on the tables. Okay, let me see. I'm going to do this one as well here. I'm going to stop the first video here, and I will continue the second video over here so I don't make it too lengthy.